proposition for tonight's debate is: the Christian gospel requires a commitment to absolute nonviolence, and thus war can never be justified. This means that nonviolent active resistance is the only moral response to injustice and threat. It will be Patrick Heery, MDiv Senior, and for the opposition, Alan Clark Clemot, MDiv Midler. So I invite Patrick to give the proposition opening statement.
Violence. War. The truth is that these are not merely academic questions. The truth is that these are not questions that merely apply to things that go on across some ocean. The truth is that these are not questions that merely apply to things that go on across some ocean. These are daily questions. How does our country defend itself? How do I defend myself should I be threatened? What would I do? Would I resort to physical violence if I saw someone else being attacked? Now, I am no expert. Some of you may have more experience, scholarly or concretely, with these questions. But for me also, this is not merely an abstract matter. Violence has been done to me, and I have seen the rage, the violence that stirred inside of me. Because it is in me. It is in me, and it is in you, and it is all of us. And it is precisely for that reason that I must choose, and repeat that, I must choose nonviolence. Because if we go there, if we turn to violence, we will have unleashed upon this world and upon ourselves an evil far greater than the one we sought to destroy. Now, my first reason is the commitment to nonviolence is rooted in no less than the Imago Dei, the inherent worth and divinity of each person. I'm talking about the divine image from Genesis renewed in Jesus Christ. I'm talking about being children of God, all of us. I'm talking about the presence of Jesus Christ in the other, as evidenced in Matthew 25, or what you do unto the least of these you have done unto me, Jesus Christ. I'm talking about the body of Christ, according to 1 Corinthians, with which we are all interconnected. And when one member of that body suffers, all suffer. And when one rejoice, all rejoice. All violence is a violation of God's image, and thus of God herself. It is a desecration of what is inviolably sacred. The perpetrator is desecrated, the victim is desecrated. To kill is to make the decision that another human being is no longer a human being. Not a person and a bearer of God's image, but a thing. That's why military theorists talk about the necessity of training combatants to abstract, to vilify their enemies. Because in the end, you don't shoot someone who has a kid. You don't shoot someone who has dreams and hopes, who has parents, who has a life, who has a name. You shoot an enemy, a threat, a nameless object across the field. That is what you kill. To kill, violence therefore requires blindness to the God within the targeted human. To kill is therefore no longer to see God. What could be a greater blasphemy, a greater sacrilege? To kill another, additionally, is to kill oneself, for we are all interconnected and suffer one another's fate as we are all members of that same body of Christ. Reason 2. The incarnation, life, and resurrection of Jesus Christ provide criteria for ethical decisions. What would Jesus do? A trite question that has been overplayed, but still a question that needs to be asked. What would Jesus do? Because Jesus did make decisions with regard to violence and nonviolence. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus instructs us to do even more than not kill. We must seek to reconcile even anger. If we cannot even hold grievances against our brothers and sisters, how can we possibly be justified, as just war theory would have us hold? How can we possibly be justified in killing our brothers and sisters? And they are that, our brothers and sisters. In that same sermon, Jesus teaches us to turn the other cheek and to love our enemies. Now, violence is the denial of someone's humanity, is the denial of the divine image of God within that person, of that person's complexity, of that person's humanity. And I'm not sure how one could do violence and still love and honor that human being. Jesus tells us not to fear those who can kill the body. We should fear, rather, he tells us, the one who can kill the soul. What kills the soul? The loss of God in our lives. The choice to no longer love God. The choice to no longer, as our ultimate commandment is, to love one's neighbor. We are commanded, indeed, to love our neighbors as ourselves. And when Jesus is arrested, he does not resort to violence, but instead stops a disciple from shedding blood and saying, all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Let me read that. When Jesus is arrested, he does not resort to violence. When Jesus is tortured, he does not resort to violence. When Jesus is crucified, he does not resort to violence. No, in fact, I believe the violence is being done by the empire. The violence is being done by those who kill Jesus Christ. The violence is being done by the world. When Jesus is on the cross, he asks God, in fact, to forgive his executioners. Reason 3. We have an alternative. We have a practical, real alternative, non-violent, active resistance. It has been done. The civil rights movement of Gandhi, which expelled an entire empire from the country of India, and, oh yeah, Jesus Christ. It's not just a nice-sounding ideal, which is the distinction just war theory wants to say. Wants to say, yeah, all of that's true. All of that sounds really nice, but when you get down to the nitty-gritty, and you're in the real world, it just doesn't play out like that. That's what they want to say. But the truth is, as Martin Luther King tells us, you cannot defeat darkness with darkness or fire with fire. You cannot defeat violence with violence or evil with evil. We still have violence in this world. Our violence has failed to create a better world. I contend it is about time we try a new approach. Thank you.